Hey there, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of What the Flip podcast. My name is Brandy, and I'm really excited about today's show because I'm talking all about Poshmark Live and how you can sell up to $7,000 a week on Posh. And I came up with that number because currently in my business, I'm doing between 5 to 7,000 a week in just Posh shows, and it has been just a blast. So I figured I would share with you what I'm doing in hopes that you can extract some things and implement them in your business if you're thinking about going live, or maybe you're going live right now and you're looking for just some new ideas and strategies to increase your sales. So if this is something that you're interested in, go ahead and keep watching. All right, let's take a moment to talk about the flow of today's episode. So I'm going to start off by sharing the steps that I take before hitting that start button, what I do during my live, what I do after my live show, and then I figured that I would share some additional tips with you guys on how you can get some free and cheap items to sell on Poshmark. So make sure to stick around for the end so that you can hear those tips. All right, so let's dive into what I do to prepare for my live shows. So most importantly, I select a theme. I've noticed that if I don't have a themed show, less people are in the room. And I get it. They don't really know what to expect. They don't know if I'm going to have their size. They don't know if I'm going to have the style that they're interested in. So again, most importantly, I select my theme. Because we're in the midst of November, everybody's thinking fall, pumpkin spice, cozy, sweaters. Most of my shows right now are fall themed. Although I do have plus size and high-end designer shows just because I feel like those ones deserve kind of like their own theme. But again, most of the themes that I'm focusing on right now are fall shows. And the size range that I have available for my shows is extra, extra small to 4XL. So I want to make sure that, I have options available for anyone who's looking for fall clothing. After I determine the theme for my show, I make sure that I have inventory available. So I restock my racks, and I just want to make sure that I have enough items available for each size. And I say that because I have been in a situation where there were a lot of requests for 1X and 2X, and I had like 2 pieces of clothing and they didn't sell. And it was just such a mess. And I'm like, okay, a lesson learned. I'm going to make sure that I have enough inventory for all sizes. That way, everyone feels like they can come to my live show and they have options available for them. The next step I take is I create the listing for my unlisted inventory. Now, if you want to learn more about this process that I take, please comment down below. But at a very high level, I have a listing that I create, and I use the custom size feature as my number options. So I just get those like live numbers from Amazon. I have 1 through 100, and that's what I use for the custom sizing. So in the custom sizing listing, I'll have number 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 100. And then when an item sells, I just tag it as number 1, and then it's size number 1 in the listing. So if that's confusing and you want to learn more, please let me know. That's just the only way that I've been able to figure out how to sell unlisted inventory in my shows. So after I create that listing, I then add it to my show so that it's available. And then from there, if I have items in my closet that are related to the theme, I will add them. And I try to focus on higher end items as far as like maybe Farm Rio, new with tags, or I remember I added like some Coach and like Vera Wang, really just those unique pieces that I think deserve to be added. And I will pull them from my inventory to make sure that I can show the physical item when someone requests for it. There have been times where I've added something to the tray, like from my closet, and I didn't have the physical item. And I think that item only sold like once. So people really want to see it. So again, pulling out those items to make sure that I have available for the show as well. And then another thing I do is I like to have featured items for every show. And I do this because one, I'm trying to focus on having a higher ASP because right now I'm starting my items mainly between $15 to $19. And then I have about 5 items that are featured that I start at $30. And for those items, I typically will do like a free people piece that is just absolutely stunning, or just like a really unique piece that maybe has a lot of embroidery, or if it's like a Johnny Was piece. And I like to do that just because not only am I trying to drive up my ASP, but when you have really unique items like that, I really just think it adds a lot of value, and it allows me to put the spotlight on really special pieces, and it's just a lot of fun. So the last thing that I do before I hit that start button is, and this seems like it would be common sense, but I just I haven't done it enough, and I just regret it every single time, and that's why I'm including it in here, is one, not only be hydrated, but two, make sure I have food in my system. I have done live shows where I didn't eat all day. I'm going live at 5 p.m. I'm live until 10 o'clock at night, and I just realized that I haven't eaten all day. And first off, that's not healthy. I should not do that. And doing live shows takes up a lot of energy. And so making sure that I have at least a light meal, even if it's like a protein shake or something, I have to make sure that I'm eating, because I did notice that when I didn't eat before I went live, towards the end of my live, my energy was just like, You know how like your iPhone, how you hit like 20% and then it's like, do you want to go on low power mode? And you can tell like the light goes down. Like, anyways, that's literally what I turned into. So don't be like me. Make sure you eat and you're hydrated before hitting that start button. All right, now let's take a moment to talk about what I do during my live show. So, the first thing I do once I hit that start button is I pray. No, I'm just kidding. I still get nervous every time I hit start, and like right before I hit it, I'm like, do I really want to do this? Okay, just do it. Just hit start. I figured I'd tell you that because, guys, like, I still get really nervous doing live shows because sometimes it's really awkward. Like, you're really like looking at the camera, and sometimes, like, when you hit that start button, you're literally by yourself for like the first minute. So, what I do to try to minimize my awkwardness is I show my featured items. And I start off with my featured items because one, I'm really excited about those items. And so naturally, I have more energy. I'm excited to share with you or share it with people in the chat. And so that's what I do. I start off sharing those items, and I'll do that for about, I don't know, 2 to 3 minutes while people are coming in. And then after I show my featured items, I introduce myself. And I actually do this quite a bit during my lives. I probably introduce myself like every 5 minutes. At least that's what it feels like. It's probably not that much, but I introduce myself multiple times during my stream. I also like to do it when an item is running. And I do this because one, there's always new people coming into the live. Like, I don't want to assume that everybody knows me. Like, I'm just this little person on Poshmark selling stuff. Like, people don't know me. So when I introduce myself, I say, hey, I'm Brandy. I've been selling on Poshmark for 7 years. I love this platform. And I just tell them my story, how I left my career in May of 2023. I was a sales engineer and I wanted to do this full time. And I'm excited to be here with you guys. Tell me where you're from. I'm here in Arizona, and I just go down my whole spiel, which I feel like I've done it so many times where I almost gave like the whole spiel to you guys, but that's what I do. And even if there are people in my show that know me and they've heard that a million times, they're always just so kind. And they're like, yes, Brandy, you guys, she's blah, 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 blah. And then they share their opinion. I don't want to share what they share, but just a lot of people on Poshmark are just really, really kind. And that's why I make it a point to constantly introduce myself. So after featured items and introducing myself, I also like to mention a text option that people can sign up for. I'm going to put an image on the screen right now. This is actually a part of my listing photos, and people can text the word POSH, P-O-S-H, to this phone number, and they will get a text message when I go live. The text message lets them know the theme of the show, giveaway details if I am doing a giveaway, and then it includes a link that will take them directly to my show. Not my closet, but my show. And I think that that's been very, very helpful. And then how I run my shows is I like to run it by size requests. So I'll just say, hey chat, what size do you want to start with? We have extra, extra small to 4XL. And if you guys don't pick, then I'm going to pick, and I'm going to go, I'm going to select the size based on the first one that I see pop up on the screen. And I say that just to be fair, because typically I'll get like all of these size requests. And so I go based off the first one that I see on the screen. And I typically have about 50 to 60 items available in each size. And I most of the time won't go through all 50 to 60 items. I kind of will just kind of pick my favorite, and I will show them the item, and I'll share the size again, the brand, and just like key features. I also will talk about like where I would wear the item, how I would wear it, maybe like some of my favorite features of the item. And I typically try not to spend more than 20 seconds talking about the item, because there's a lot of times, most people, when they see an item, they know within like 5 seconds if it's something that they want to bid on, if it's something that they even like. And so I don't want to waste people's time. I don't want to waste my time. And with Poshmark, I really don't want to like run an item until I've disclosed as much information I can about it, because, bids are binding, and I don't want people to feel like they're stuck with an item. And so yeah, I'll talk about it. And then if people are interested in it, then I do have them comment the word run, R-U-N. And once they comment run, then I make the item available. So that's typically the flow that I take. It's been working for me, and I like to take that approach because it allows me to move items quicker. On the platform Whatnot, you have the ability to do sudden death, and then they have like a 5-second timer, a 10-second timer. The like least amount of time you can put an item for auction for on Poshmark is 30 seconds, and I just don't think that that's a good flow. If it was kind of like a shorter window, then maybe I would run every single item, but it just doesn't make sense with the platform on Poshmark and doing it that process. So I hope that makes sense, but that's typically what I do is I'll show the items, I have them comment run if they want it available, and then I just take size requests, and we just keep doing that. And if they don't pick a size, I will pick a size, and I will show all of my favorite items. And right now, I don't know if I mentioned, but for my live shows, 90% of my items are thrifted. And I really try to stay focused on items that show well on camera. So embroidery, sequin, boho, pieces that are just super casual, like a black t-shirt. It doesn't really get people excited, and it doesn't even really get me excited. Like, yeah, do you want this black t-shirt? It's a size small, it's cotton, it's soft, it's V-neck, it's short sleeve. Like, what makes that unique? I mean, honestly, they could probably get it at Walmart for $3. Like, that doesn't make me excited. So I like to thrift my items because I get to pick it. as opposed to pallets, you really are at the mercy of whatever it is that they send you. And then you have like a bajillion of the same thing. So, not that I'm against pallets, it's just a lot of my items are thrifted. So, I figured I would share that with you. All right, so let's go back to what I do during my show because I felt like I was getting a little bit off topic. Now, that they comment run. If something sells, I add the number to the item and then I hang it on a rack that is just for items that have sold. And I do a separate rack for items that sold. That way, when it comes to shipping my items, everything is all on one rack. They're numbered, they're in chronological order, and it just makes shipping so much easier and quicker. I typically go live for about 4 hours. And I notice that if I go live for even like an hour, it's just not worth my time at that point because there's so many people coming in, coming out, and I feel like I do a lot better with my shows. Like I have a higher ASP, I obviously sell more items, and if I'm going live and I for a longer period of time, and I just feel like that sweet spot has been about 4 hours. I have done 5.5 hours as my longest. And in that show, I sold like 90 or 91 items. And that was a fantastic show. That was so much fun. But that was a show where I didn't eat. I was like dead like the last 30 minutes. But anywho, 4 hours has definitely been my sweet spot for going live. And then, of course, during my live, I'm trying to drink as much water as possible. And I'll take a drink of water when something is like being auctioned. Now, just a couple tips for what I try to do when I'm going live is I try to create as much engagement as possible. I think that that is crazy critical to keep people in your live because a lot of people, once they click into the live, if like the energy is low or they're like, this isn't really a lot of fun, they click out super fast, which I get it because I'm kind of the same way too. So I try to increase engagement. And how I do that is I typically do it with the items. So for example, I will ask a lot of questions or like, would you rather? So I remember I had like this anthropology shirt and it had like this dog print all over it. And it was just the most darling thing. Oh, I'm touching the microphone. Sorry. It was the most darling thing. And so I was asking people in the chat, like while I was showing the item, like, okay, I love this because not only is it dogs and I'm a dog person, I have a golden retriever, but are you guys a dog person or are you a cat person? Tell me in the chat, are you a dog person or a cat person? And like the chat got super active. And then people were putting different animals. They're like, I'm a pig person. Like I love pigs. And then it just started this whole thing. And then I remember having like this graphic tee that was Whitney Houston. And I was like, okay, you guys, Whitney Houston or Beyonce, who's the better singer? And people were putting that in the chat. Or, I have like 80s, 90s music in the background. And I think there was like a Janet Jackson song playing. And I was like, okay, who's better, Janet or Michael? Tell me in the chat. And I've used that question so many times and people always say Michael Jackson. I haven't seen one person say Janet, even though I low-key like Janet a little bit more. But anyways, but that's what I do is I try to include people into the room and kind of just welcome them, let them know that like I want them here, I want to learn more about them. And so yeah, engagement I think is priority. I don't think that you need to have a big personality. I don't really think I have a big personality. I just get excited about clothes and I think it kind of comes off in my lives. And I like to try to focus on things that are really organic. Like I don't want to just like come up with something like, so what do you guys like? Do you guys like pizza or tacos more? Like it's not organic and I don't think it makes it fun. So use your clothing to create engagement. If you're showing a boho piece, say, you know, I love boho pieces. Like, do you guys like boho pieces? If so, like, what are some of your favorite brands? Like, I know mine is Free People. Like, what about yours? Like, comment in the chat. Why do you like boho? Like, I personally like boho because of the tassels. Like, do you guys like tassels? Like, it's okay to ask questions. And really, it's just free feedback. Like, you know what your people like. So, all right, I think we talked enough about engagement. If you guys are interested on a separate podcast or video that talks all about engagement and just some tips and ideas on how to increase engagement, definitely comment down below because I think that that would be a lot of fun. Okay, so my show has ended, and the next thing I'm doing is sleeping for a week. I'm just kidding. I seriously get really tired after live shows. It really can be insanely draining. As much as I would like to say that I personally ship immediately after my live show, that would be a lie because I don't. I seriously turn off my phones and I step away and I just take a moment to myself. I do work at a warehouse. That's where I have my live shows. So if I have a late night show, I seriously will shut down everything and I go straight home and be with my family. If I have an earlier show, then I'll take like 30 minutes to myself, use the restroom, grab a snack, just like replenish myself, and then I'll focus on shipping. But before I do that, before I get to shipping, let me just take a quick moment. I have been trying to focus on sharing with you guys on YouTube what sold during my Poshmark live shows. So I will do my YouTube video, you know, everything's still on the rack in chronological order of how it sold, and then I'll do my YouTube video. And then after that, I do prepare for shipments. So I'll go to Poshmark, I download all of the shipping labels, and then it'll send me an email of all of the labels, and that way I could just send it to my Rollo printer, and then it prints out all of the labels. I will say that Poshmark is not designed to have a lot of orders to fulfill at once. I really hope one day that Poshmark improves that process because it is just brutal. And even if they send you an email with all of the labels, they only send 25 labels at a time, or like only show you 25 orders at a time. And it is really just a mess. It is just not an efficient process. But now that you guys know how I feel about that process, I download all of the shipping labels, I print them out, and then I have to go back to my orders. On the back of my labels, I will write down the numbers of the items that the person has purchased. So for example, let's say I have the label for Amy Smith. I'll go to the orders in Poshmark, and then I go to that order number or the details in my email. And then I can see the size. So you can, you know how like when you look at the sold, you can see the description and then you can see the size. The size is the number of the item that's sold. So if I have Amy Smith, she has 3 items. She has number 1, she has number 18, and then she has number 50. Then I will grab those numbers from the rack and then I'll package it together and then ship it out. Now, I did have one show where I had a person purchase 21 items from me. And I was just like, wow, girl, not only are you amazing, which by the way, you know, I was going to say her name, but I'm not because I don't know if she would feel comfortable with that. But she was just so amazing. It was my first time meeting her. But 21 items, I mean, I've never had an order that big on Poshmark, like ever. And so I reached out to her and, you know, I asked her to purchase an additional label, which she kind of already knew at that point that we would have to do that. But I do reach out to people and let them know like, hey, I created this listing. It's a $3 listing so that you can purchase another label so like I can get everything to your front door. And I do want to mention, and maybe I should have included this during my show, is that if I've noticed that someone is purchasing a lot of items, I do let them know like, hey, you know, Chelsea, first of all, you are so amazing and you're getting some amazing items in my show. And I noticed that you have about 5 or 6 items already. So what I'm going to do, Chelsea, is I'm going to reach out to you after the show so that you can purchase another label so that I can make sure that all of these items get to your front door. I don't like to talk about like the limits and it's up to 5 pounds and 10 pounds and all that. They don't care about that. Like, I want them to know, like, first of all, I'm going to be reaching out to you so that we can get you another label and kind of just prepare them to be on the lookout for a message from me, and that there's that possibility that they would need to purchase another label. So I with the shipments, I'll reach out to those people, wait until they get back to me. Now, depending on the situation, I may just pay for the difference. Now, some of you may know that if I purchase a label up to 10 pounds, that's like an additional $20, which is brutal and can absolutely cut into a lot of your profit. So I guess depending on the situation, there has been a situation where I have paid that, but that was because the person spent $400 with me, and based on my cost of goods, it just made sense for me to pay the additional $20. So it is kind of like a case by case type of situation. If you would like me to have another video on that topic, just let me know. But it is a part of my shipping process. And so I try to, be mindful of that with my cost of goods and my starting prices, because the shipping is just, I really hope that there's some more options on Poshmark soon when it comes to lives, because a lot of people really want to bundle, and I encourage bundling. Like, I want you to pick all of your favorite things, but I have to be mindful of making sure that I'm still profitable while keeping in mind that another label is like another $10 for someone. Okay, I think we talked enough about that, but it is a part of my process after the show, so I figured I would talk about it. And then, of course, last but not least, when I put my packages together, I love to put a sticker on the box that's that text notification where it says, text the word POSH to phone number to get live notifications. I put it on every single box. It's this bright pink stinker. You guys, it's this bright pink sticker that I make with my Rollo printer, and it is just bright and bold and in your face. That way, if they forgot to sign up for text messages, or maybe if they didn't hear me while I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, they have the option to sign up. At that point, they can sign up at any time, and of course, they can opt out at any time. So after I prepared all of my shipments, then I think we all know what happens next. They are picked up by USPS. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I do work at a warehouse. I actually work at a warehouse called Saltbox. If you guys are looking for an office location for warehouse services, I highly recommend them. But the cool thing with them is that USPS comes Monday through Friday, and they pick up all of my packages. So it saves me time. I don't have to go to the post office or schedule a pickup. They're already going to come. And so that's what I do. I put it all in the shipping area, and then USPS picks up my packages, which is crazy nice. All right. So sourcing options. I really wanted to include something really fun in my first episode. And I'm like, what is one thing that all resellers have in common? Sourcing. We need to have inventory in order to make sales, right? So I put together a small list of just some ideas on how you can get some free or cheap inventory so that you can grow your business. Because when it comes to cost of goods, it really determines everything. It determines on whether live sales even makes sense for your business. It determines starting price in your closet. I mean, it determines everything, right? So first off, if you're looking for free inventory, start off with what you have in your closet. And I know this may sound like, girl, I could have thought about that myself, but go through your closet. Go through your spouse's closet. Go through your child's closet. It's so crazy to hear about just how many clothing pieces people purchase and they only wear it once. especially like more formal pieces, or maybe you purchased something and you tried it on and you're like, this is not my favorite piece, and you pass the return window so you can't even get your money back. Like, constantly revisit your personal closet or your family's closet and figure out what they're not wearing or what you're not wearing, and include that in your live shows. Also, even ask those that don't live in your home, friends and family, ask them to go through their closet. Like, hey, like, I'm really trying to grow my business, and do you have any clothing pieces that you just don't love anymore? Or maybe you were thinking about donating. I would love to take those off of your hands. And people really want to support you. And although, you know, they may not be able to support you financially, they may be able to support you through donations. So always keep that on top of mind. Ask friends and family about things that they're willing to donate to help you grow your business. With that being said, let's say you don't have any friends or family that can do that. You can also tap into people in your neighborhood. If you are a part of Facebook groups, like I know me personally with my community, there's like a mom's group, there's like a family group, like all the things. I'm in all the Facebook groups for my community. And so yeah, just asking the parents in there, like, hey, does anyone have any donations that you're looking to drop off and maybe you just haven't had time to? I would love to take it off of your hands, and then you can just go through the inventory, pick out what you want, and then donate the rest of the items. It's kind of is a win-win because, one, you saved a trip for them, right? They probably have donations in their trunk and they just haven't gotten around to going to Goodwill or wherever it is that they like to make donations. And so you save them time and money, right? They didn't have to drive over there. And then again, it's a win for you because you got free inventory. Now, if you're not a Facebook person and you're like, I'm totally not doing that, then you can go on the Nextdoor app, which is a free app, and you can ask people in there if they have any donations. The nice thing with doing the Nextdoor app is that you can also look at neighborhoods that are in your surrounding area as well. So if you don't want to focus on just your community and your neighborhood, you can branch out a little bit more and see if there's anyone else that has any donations that they've been looking to, any clothing that they've been looking to donate, and you can take those off of their hands. I do have one more recommendation, although this is probably not a top recommendation, but it is an option, is that there are buy nothing groups that you can join in your local area. These are pretty common for people that are giving away stuff for free. It is designed for people that are in need. So that's why it's not my top recommendation, but I say this because let's say you personally are in need of women's clothing. Let's say you're looking for size large and, you ask for donations of size large, and let's say someone donates a bag of clothes to you and you pick out your favorite items and then you just decide to sell the rest. I think it's okay at that point. But I think keeping the integrity of the group is important for Buy Nothing, but it still could be an option if all of the donations that were given to you just aren't, a fit, which is okay, I think, at that point. Okay, so those are some free options that I have for you. Let's talk about some options that are available that would be a low cost of goods. So one is sourcing on the Whatnot app. And I personally do this all the time. If you don't know what Whatnot is, it is an auction style live platform, just like Poshmark shows, but it's just on a different app. If you want $10 to shop, there's a link below that you can click. But I personally source on Whatnot all the time, and I'll tell you my strategy of what I do. I look for very low starts. So people that are starting between $1 to $3, and then I visit the shows that have the least amount of people in there. the shows where it's a $1 start and they have like 100 people in there, I'm sorry, but no one's paying $1 for anything. They're paying way more than probably retail at that point. I never shop in any of those shows. I don't, not even for myself. It's too much competition. I'm good. And so again, low starts, low audience. If you are in there by yourself, it's like a win-win. But so yeah, I will go on Whatnot, and that's how I source on that app. Or I even source on Poshmark. I look specifically for people that already have low starts, and you can tell that they're not resellers. You can tell when a closet is not a reseller closet because they only have like 30 items available. They've sold a few items, and for the most part, it's all the same size, and you can tell if someone's just trying to get rid of their stuff. And what I do is I make a bundle and I send them an offer, like what we would consider a lowball offer. And 9 times out of 10, they accept the offer because they're like, "Oh, I made a sale." They're excited. I'm excited. And it ends up being a really good option. So I also source on Poshmark as well. And then another option, of course, is your local thrift store, and making sure that if you are going to source somewhere at Goodwill, make sure to sign up for their 20% coupon. They send one every single month. I've used it like on the same day at multiple Goodwills, and you can use it as many times as you want. At least that's been my experience. So make sure to sign up for those emails so that you get that 20% discount. And then make sure to pay attention to the sales that they have. There's a lot of times where they'll have color tag sales where it's 50% off or whatever it is. They usually have something in addition to the 20% off. So everything that you're purchasing for that day, you're not paying full price at that thrift store. I personally like to shop at consignment stores because, one, it saves me a lot of time, and I'm willing to pay a little bit more for items that I know are in good condition, because at a consignment store, it's already been, for the most part, pre-reviewed, right? Because they're not just accepting any and every donation that has rips, holes, stains, all the things. I'm not saying that you don't find that at consignment shops. It's just there's less of, and it saves me time personally. And time is my most important asset. And so consignment shops, I think, are really important, especially like mom and pop shops. That's where you're really going to find some great deals. So go to Google, go to like thrift stores near me, and don't be afraid to go to just like a non-mainstream thrift store. That's where you're really going to find some gems. Okay, 2 more options for you, and then we're going to wrap up the first episode of What the Flip. One is consigning for your friends and family. And really, I feel like I should have included this at the beginning for free inventory. But let's say you have family and friends that have items that they've paid up for. Maybe it's like a Coach purse, and they're like, I love this purse. Like, I paid, X amount of dollars for it. I've been wanting to sell it, but I don't want to sell it on Poshmark and eBay. Like, it's not really my thing. I just know that I want something for it. Then you can consign it for them. You can come up with numbers that make sense for you, that make sense for them. And then when the item sells, then you give them the percentage of that. So I think that that's a great option if you have people that maybe have a little bit more higher end items, or they're like, hey, I have a whole bunch of clothes that I want to get rid of. And as long as I can get like $5 for every item, I'm good. And if it makes sense for you, then, why not? I think it's a win for them. It's a win for you. And, that way they always want to come to you when they want to get rid of stuff, maybe for themselves or their family or whatever that is. The last one I have for you is pallets and liquidation. Now, I feel like if you heard pallets and you're like, girl, no, I'm not spending thousands of dollars on a pallet. I feel you. I get it. But I think that it's worth looking into as far as liquidation, stores that are liquidating in your area. That way you don't have to pay for shipping. With our economy right now, unfortunately, there's a lot of businesses that are closing up shop and they're trying to get rid of their inventory. So if you're on the lookout for that store liquidation, maybe near me, kind of just using that as a keyword, store closing, then you actually could get some pretty sweet deals in your area. And it might be a pallet worth of stuff that they're getting rid of, or maybe just a bulk of something. So anyways, those are some sourcing options that I have for you. Wow, you guys, we did it. We completed the very first episode of What the Flip podcast. And first off, I just want to say thank you so much for just clicking on my video and spending time with me. I did start reselling full time of May of 2023, and I will say that this has just been a whirlwind. And although I've been reselling for 7 years, this is just so very different on doing it full time versus part time. And so I'm just so appreciative of you guys just hanging out with me. But I do plan on posting a new episode every week. And if there is a category or topic that you would like to talk about, please let me know. But thanks again for watching. I hope that there was something from this video that you find helpful and that you're able to maybe add to your business model so that you can be more successful in selling live on Poshmark. But thank you so much again for watching, and until next time, have fun fashion flipping.